Finn. You're watching Warframe Unabridged. Today we are going to take a look at Oberon, but more specifically we are looking at Smite. That is his first power, and it's actually a really diverse and really interesting ability with a lot of utility involved with it. A lot of crowd control as well. When people try and look at his powers, they talk about how everybody else can do what he does, only better, and I strongly disagree. I think that that's just a cop-out argument because No Frame's abilities should be taken out of the context of the kit, because as I pointed out earlier in another video, that it's just an unfair comparison, because context is everything, okay? You cannot take anything out of context and truly do justice to the original product. You can literally pick apart any frame by taking that route. I could pick apart Loki and tell you how somebody does each of his abilities better than him, okay? Loki Master Race, yeah, well, maybe not. Maybe he's just second best at all four of his abilities, and the way they function together happens to be the way he achieves what's called the Master Race status. I think that that mentality should die. I think that people that use that argument just don't understand the game very well, and I think that they really need to adapt and update their mentality, because that's not going to get them anywhere. Now with Smite, you have a lot of features tied to his power, and with Smite the first feature that everybody probably knows is that it's an immediate knockdown on the primary target, and with that being the case, it's a really good way to stop a heavy in their tracks. You know, worst case scenario, you're running up against a heavy, say you're running efficiency, you could spend 7 energy and bam, they're on their ass. And that's a pretty good start. But where it gets a little more complicated than that is all of the effects that are tied to it. Now, radiation is overlooked by a lot of people, and I'm not sure why, because it's a pretty solid damage type. You see, radiation already deals a good amount of damage versus the most powerful faction, Grineer. It'll also deal a good amount of damage versus robots, and the fact that it is supplemented with impact damage somewhat makes up the damage mitigation against shields. It's half impact, half radiation. Not that bad versus robots. It's not that great versus infestation, mainly because the only thing that gets an actual bonus is against sinew, which is, you know, numerically speaking, a very small portion of the faction. And otherwise, it has some serious penalties against enemies in that faction. Now, where it does kind of shine is its crowd control abilities. There's the confusion, so the enemies are going to be attacking each other, and that's the first piece of the puzzle. Oberon gets the enemies to attack one another, essentially in the same way as Nyx. What adds to that is the fact that when they are irradiated, they're going to have a reduction in accuracy. So that's going to help out tremendously. Now, I would say that the most important feature of it, though, would probably be the fact that it's sending out multiple projectiles, so long as you have enough power strength to manage it, which are going to force weaken procs on all of the enemies that it hits. That alone makes Smite unique among his abilities. None of his other abilities do that, but that's one of many status effects that he inflicts between various knockdowns, between the confusion procs, between the blinds that he does, and between that and the fact that he can mitigate damage as well by increasing his armor, the fact that he can restore health. All of these things are lending to survivability. And it may not be as obvious when it comes to survivability as, say, Rhino, but it's still a very powerful combination, because at the end of the day, you knock targets down, which stops them from attacking you. You turn them against one another, so less people are firing at you. You reduce their accuracy through irradiating them, so the ones that actually do take shots at you aren't as likely to hit you. And so long as you're doing a decent spamming build, you're going to be taking less damage because of the weakened procs. And once that happens, you mitigate it further with Hallowed Ground and your enhancement to armor. Oberon has a lot of things that all stack the battlefield. It stacks the deck. It creates an environment of pain for your enemies. And that's something that too many people gloss over. And frankly, they just need to stop. Now, where things kind of change with Oberon and everybody else is they are more direct. And that's one of the reasons why people don't tend to like Oberon as much. Now, take a look at Saren. Saren was simple, and everybody loved her. Saren then, she lost no power whatsoever, but she was just made more complicated. And that was enough to get a bunch of people crying. And it's really unfortunate, too, because she is a great frame. She is absolutely amazing, but people just really hated her because now they had to work for her to be awesome, and people don't want to work. And that's why Oberon has never been popular. Now, it's been a little more than that in the past, but with his rework, and yes, he's already gotten a major rework in the past, but with his original rework, he was made very diverse and very effective. And now I think we're going to discuss my first build that I'm going to talk about in terms of Oberon. So we're going with Stretch, we have Blind Rage, Intensify. What we're kind of aiming for is a lot of projectiles and a lot of range. So you see I have Overextended, you see I have Prime Continuity, you see I'm going for Max Efficiency as well, which kind of is to the detriment of the duration, but at 95%, we're not going to be hurting. With Cunning Drift, that tops off the range, giving it a good 250, which is going to give your Smite somewhere around 125 meters. It's going to give you a really powerful Reckoning in case enemies close the distance between you and them. Of course, we're going with Vitality. Everybody needs a good defense, and when it comes to defenses, you should always mod for what is going to be the best mathematical gain that you can get on a frame. We are using Corrosive Projection to bring down the enemy's armor. So in this video, you see that I am kind of showing you where the hitboxes start and end. And with the standard zoom, you still got to get the center reticle on the enemy. When you zoom in, you could shoot above their head. And I'm not sure why it works this way, but you drastically enhance the hitbox. So here you see I'm using Smite, and I'm using it to tie up those enemies. Something I'm also using to my advantage is the Puncture Procs. It sends out the additional projectiles, and that's going to alert me to other enemies. You saw there was the guy off to the left here. And so now I have a better idea of where they are, because this isn't just going to deal the puncture procs, but it's also going to highlight where the enemies are. At the very least, I could just follow the direction of the projectiles to see where they are. And that's pretty much it for today, folks. I really appreciate your time. I plan on covering a lot more on Oberon, and if you're interested, feel free to give me a like and maybe share it. Feel free to subscribe as well. I look forward to seeing you again. Talk to you the next time. This is Fen, signing off.